At 25, I was broke. At 31, I already had $1 million. What changed? Not the world, me, my principles. Financial freedom isn't an event, it's a mindset. In this video, I'll share 5 laws that changed my financial destiny forever. They work at any age and are especially important when life demands stability. Stay with me until the end, because the practical part will help you get started today. And if you feel like this is about you, subscribe here. We talk about what's real. Did you know that according to research, over 60% of people aged 50 plus don't have enough savings to last 3 months without income? And it's not because of a lack of income, but a lack of rules. Wealth isn't about how much you earn, but how wisely you manage that flow. I didn't learn these laws in university or from books. I learned them when I sold the TV remote to buy bread. And in that moment, I made a decision. Never again would I let randomness control my life. I didn't have a financial mentor, but I had hunger, I had thirst, I had an idea. What if I started acting like someone who's already wealthy? That's when I stumbled upon the concept of laws, unwritten, simple, yet unbreakable, followed by those who don't just survive but build gradually. I gathered them, tested them on myself, and began teaching others. Today I'll share 5 of them with you, and I ask you not just to listen, but to listen as if your destiny depends on it. Because sometimes it truly does. Especially when there's less time than before, when you can no longer wait for a better moment. Because the best moment is now. And at the end of this video, I'll give you a practical task, so these ideas become not just inspiration, but the beginning of action. Let's begin. I always said, wealth is not the amount in your bank account. It's the sum of your habits, your decisions, your discipline. And the first law, financial freedom, sounds simple, but it changes everything. Don't spend everything you earn. I learned this when I was spending even what I didn't yet have. A credit card gave me a sense of power, but it was an illusion of power. True power is saying no when others say yes. My mentor once said, Jim, if you earn $1,000 and spend $1,001, you're living better than you can afford, and that gap will destroy you. I remember sitting in a cheap motel, calculating my habits. It turned out I was living not by my income, but by my desires. And desires are bottomless. That's why law no. 1 is live below your means. Not because you're poor, but because you're wise. Now, the second law, I call it the tide rule. For yourself, not for church, not for charity. First for yourself, save 10% of every income. Yes, even if it's $10 out of 100. Because it's not about the amount. It's about the habit. You know what? I notice people who say, I'll save when I earn more don't save even when they do earn more. Why? Because it's not about income. It's about character, about decision, about practice. This law taught me self-respect. When I put money into a reserve account, I'm telling myself, you matter more than a new thing. Your freedom matters more than temporary pleasure. It's an act of self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of all finances. The third law, money must work. Not just sit there, but work. When I first heard that, I thought, how can money work? It's not a person. But it turned out every dollar is your hired employee. And if you leave it idle, you're a bad manager. I started investing small amounts. A bit in education, a bit in books, a bit in basic tools. And those investments began to pay off. Money invested in knowledge gives the highest return. That's why I say the first investment isn't in the stock market, it's in your mind. If you don't know what to do with money, it won't stay with you. And once your mind expands, opportunities will find you. That's why I collected books like others collect furniture. Because a book can change not just your day, but your destiny. The fourth law, avoid bad debt. You see, there are debts that work for you and debts that work against you. The difference is whether they create an asset or consume one. If you take a loan for a TV, you're going into debt for comfort. If it's for education or a tool for work, that's potentially an investment. But the key is not to deceive yourself. Debt isn't evil, but it is a burden. And burdens weigh you down. My mentor once told me, don't carry what you can't lift. And I realized that freedom is when your paycheck belongs to you, the creditor. After that, I started eliminating my debts, one by one. And with each clear debt, I felt lighter, freer, stronger. The fifth law: keep learning about finance. The world changes, and the rules of the game change with it. If you know how to handle money at 40, that's not enough. To stay stable at 60, you must be a lifelong learner, not for a diploma, but for security. Because financial literacy isn't a trend, it's a weapon, especially in times of instability. I remember one evening, sitting with a notebook, trying to make sense of tax nuances. Not because I love numbers, but because I love freedom. Every new skill, a new insight, is another step toward independence. Even if it feels hard, keep going, because the best things in life are not always easy, but always worth the effort. And here's one more thing. These laws work at any age. They don't require youth. They require determination. I've seen people start at 60 and catch up with those who started at 30. Not because of speed, but because of consistency. Because day by day, week by week, month by month, they acted. It's not magic. It's math. And math is on the side of the persistent. Now, take an honest look at your life. Are you following these laws? Or maybe you're living against them, hoping things will somehow change on their own. Freedom doesn't come to the one who waits. It comes to the one who acts today with a small step. And even if it feels like it's too late, remember, it's better to start at 60 and live free after 65 than to remain a prisoner of circumstances. When I first heard these laws, I thought, this sounds too simple. But then I remembered, the truth is always simple. It's not hard to understand. It's hard to apply. Because each of these principles doesn't require genius. It requires maturity, self-discipline. And that's exactly what most people lack. I often say we don't suffer from a lack of information. We suffer from a lack of action. And so let me dive deeper, because behind every law is not just advice, but an entire philosophy. Let's start with this. Financial freedom is not just about money. It's about choice. The ability to say no to a job that drains you, yes to a trip you've dreamed of taking, no to fear of the unexpected, and yes to peace of mind knowing you're not at the mercy of the world. And you know where that choice begins? With thought. Because financial freedom is a state of mind before it is a state of your bank account. Your finances are a mirror of your beliefs. If you believe money is evil, it will avoid you. If you believe wealth is only for the young, you've already cut off your own oxygen. But I tell you, wealth isn't about age. It's about structure, principles, continuous growth. I know people who started at 55 and did more in 5 years than they had in the previous 20 because they acted systematically. Like a farmer who knows, first you plant, then you wait for the harvest. Another crucial factor is your environment. People you surround yourself with. If everyone around you lives paycheck to paycheck, sees debt as normal, and devalue saving, you'll start thinking the same way. It's like swimming in a saltwater pool and thinking it's fresh. You won't even notice you've adapted. That's why I always said, surround yourself with people who make you grow, even online. Read, listen to, and watch those who have what you aspire to, because thoughts are contagious, and financial thoughts are too. Now, let's talk about the most common sabotage excuses. I don't understand investing. I don't have enough time. I'm too old to start. I've heard this dozens of times, and you know what that is. It's a defense mechanism, because acting is scary, but making excuses is comfortable. Yet excuses will never give you freedom. They give you the illusion of peace. And illusion is a trap. I remember a man I met after one of my seminars. He was 62. He said, "Jim, I have a $900 monthly pension, no savings, and a bit of shame in my pocket. Is it too late for me?" I looked him in the eyes and said, "Too late is when you're no longer here. But if you're here, if you're breathing, it's not too late. It's just a different starting point." We sat down, made a plan. 3 years later, he had a 6-month reserve, a small income from an online asset, and a smile, the kind that appears when someone feels in control. Again, That example shows financial freedom doesn't come instantly. It appears step by step. And the key is to start not tomorrow, not Monday, today. Sometimes with something simple. Write down where your money goes. Even that action awakens awareness. Because until you see the picture, you can't change it. It's like, wait until you step on the scale. It seems like everything's fine. Financial weight is also invisible until that final drop breaks the balance. Now, pay attention to one more thing. Emotions and money. That's a pair that often don't get along. When we're upset, we spend. When we're happy, we spend. When we're afraid, we stash cash under the mattress. But financial wisdom is about action, not emotion. My principle was simple. Don't make financial decisions based on emotions. As my mentor said, wanna buy something? Delay the purchase by 48 hours. If the desire is still there, maybe it's worth it. Remember, every dollar you don't spend is another brick in the foundation of your freedom. Not a sacrifice, a contribution, a limitation, an investment. And when you change your attitude toward financial discipline, it won't feel like a burden anymore. It will become a form of care for yourself, for your future self, for your family. And here's one more simple but profound thought. Lost money isn't the worst thing. Lost years are the years you lived in debt and stress and constant fear of the unknown. And I'm not saying everything can be changed overnight, but I do know this for sure. The path starts with a decision, one law, one action, one habit. And from there, everything can begin to change. You already have everything you need. Don't go searching for another secret formula. There aren't many laws, but they are deep. And when you internalize them, just understand them, but live them, you'll see life changes. Not instantly, but inevitably. Because financial freedom is not an event. It's the result of daily choice, a mature choice, a responsible choice. And I believe if you're watching this video, you are already someone ready to choose responsibly, someone who no longer wants to live somehow, someone who wants peace, strength, and dignity. And that is true wealth. Let's pause here. Because real change doesn't begin with inspiration. It begins with action. And the first action is always an honest look at yourself. I'm offering you a small exercise that changes more than it seems. We won't measure success by someone else's standards. We'll measure your readiness for freedom. Right now, imagine a scale from 1 to 10 in front of you. 1 means my finances are a complete mess. I don't even know how much I spend each month. 10 means I track my finances down to the dollar, have a safety cushion, invest, and sleep peacefully. Got it in your mind? Now answer these questions honestly. No one's judging, just you. First, how consciously do you spend your money? 1. Emotions drive your spending. 10. Every dollar has a purpose. Second, do you regularly save a portion of your income? 1. You don't save at all. 10. You have a consistent habit, no matter the amount. Third, do your finances create anything for the future? 1. Your account is always at 0. 10. You follow a clear financial strategy. Fourth, how financially independent do you feel? 1. You depend on outside circumstances, your job, or chance. 10. You feel calm even if things go wrong. Fifth, how confident are you in your financial future? 1. Fear and uncertainty. 10. Peace and a plan. Answer each one. Write them down in a notebook, on your phone, even on a napkin. But do it because what's written down becomes real. Now, the most important part. Look at those 5 scores. Which one is the lowest? That's your focus for the week. Weak spot. It's what needs your attention most right now. Because change doesn't begin with everything at once. It begins with one vulnerable link. Your task is to choose one concrete action that you will do every day for the next 7 days to improve that area. If it's saving, open a separate account and put away in $1 a day. If it's spending, track every purchase. If it's feeling secure, read about financial literacy for 10 minutes a day. It's not the scale that matters, it's the consistency. You're building a new habit, you're shaping a new identity. And trust me, in a week, you'll look at yourself and say, already different. Because the moment you stop hoping and start acting, you become freer. One more thing, if you've made it this far, it means you have strength, you have desire, you have a spark within. And I'd love for us to continue this conversation together. So if this video gave you value, hit like, not for the algorithm, but to affirm to yourself this matters. Subscribe to the channel if you're not with us yet, because here, we don't just talk about success. We build it calmly, deeply, authentically. And I invite you to be part of this journey and finally share in the comments which of the 5 questions had your lowest score, and what action are you choosing for this week. Your comment is more than just words, it's your first step toward change, and maybe it will inspire someone else to take theirs. You know what I've realized over the years? Financial freedom isn't about big leaps. It's about daily decisions, about small yeses to self-discipline and small no's to temptation. It's the quiet dignity of knowing that your actions today are shaping your tomorrow. I've seen lives transformed by people who started from nothing, but they acted. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't make excuses. They chose responsibility over complaints. And in that lies real strength. I've always said, it doesn't matter where you've been. What matters is where you're going. And today might just be the moment you decide. Enough waiting, it's time to build. Because if not you, then who? And if not now, then when? Remember, financial freedom isn't about numbers. It's about the freedom to choose, about dignity, about peace. And it doesn't begin tomorrow, it begins with what you do. After this video, take these 5 laws. Choose one, apply it, and in a week, a month, a year, you'll look back and say, that was the decision that changed everything.